Hey everybody, my name is Kyle Knott, and I am not your average finance guy. I'm going to show you some things that we don't teach us in high school, so let's dive in. Roth, I always do the wrong hand. Roth versus traditional IRA. So what is Roth? A Roth, and I know everyone's looking ahead at the numbers, that's fine, but a Roth IRA is something that you take money pre-taxed. So if you got a 9 to 5 and you take a little bit of money that comes onto your paycheck, and you can set that money aside. You can set aside so much money per year and put it in towards a Roth IRA. That's money you've already paid taxes on, and whatever money inside of the Roth, and you can do investments. If you've got a self-directed IRA, you can invest in a lot of different stuff. I got a Bitcoin example up here just because that's going nuts lately. But what you can do with a Roth IRA is you've already paid taxes on it. So government says, okay, if you do that, you've already paid taxes. Now you put it into this Roth IRA vehicle and it will grow tax free. And since it grows tax free and you've already paid tax on it when you go to take, hopefully it grows. When you go to take it out, since you've already paid tax on it, you just get to take everything. Now, the traditional Roth IRA, the traditional IRA, it goes in pre-tax. So it says instead of me getting the money on my check after all deductions are out, this comes out of your check like kind of as a deduction. So it makes it look like you make less money, which then saves you in taxes up front. So if say easy numbers, if you make $100,000 and you put $10,000 per year into your traditional IRA or 401k, that's kind of what I mean by traditional here. If you put that in there, what it does is it comes out of your income. So to the tax man, it looks like you only made $90,000, which, all right, that's cool. So now I'm not paying as much tax because it looks like I only made $90,000. So they get you there by you can almost do this in a way where you take home about the same amount of money, but you threw a bunch of money into the traditional. So by doing that, it also grows tax free. But then when you take it out, because you haven't paid taxes on it yet, that's when you get taxed. So if you look at this example behind me, say you bought 10 Bitcoin back. I remember in COVID, it was like $5,000, and I think it was lower than $5,000. And I remember I didn't know how to do it. So I tried and tried. I figured this out, and I had to send money in and out and tried to get got a Coinbase, all that stuff set up. And by the time I actually got it, it was 5,500 or something. So I bought 2 Bitcoins back then at like 5,500. I was really smart. And within 1 week, I made $4,000 and I sold it. Yeah, that was smart. So a little story there. But had I bought that and kept it inside of a Roth IRA, so this one I threw out 10 Bitcoin. So if you bought 10 Bitcoin back then for $5,000, or maybe you even got in before that, that would have been freaking awesome. If I got a time machine, I'd go back when it was a nickel, and you throw $100 in there and you're set for life. So, whatever. 10 Bitcoins at $5,000 a pop is $50,000. So if you do that for both the traditional and the Roth IRA, it costs you $50,000. One, you've already paid taxes on. Okay. This came out, and maybe I think whenever it was $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000. I don't remember how much you can contribute to your Roth IRA every year, but you do that. You load it up until you've got $50,000. They all right. I've got $50,000 within this account. I'm going to buy 10 Bitcoin with it. So cost you $50,000. Same thing with the traditional. If you got a traditional self-directed IRA, a lot of people's 401ks probably won't offer this, but if you have a self-directed IRA and you'd have to go through a different custodian, that's probably a different video in and of itself, but it is possible. So 10 Bitcoin, again, at $5,000 is $50,000. So say Bitcoin goes to $100,000, which it hit it. I don't know, it was up and down, and it might be right about there now. I knows when this will go out or when you watch it. But say Bitcoin goes to $100,000 and you're ready to take that money out. All right, I'm done. I'm retired. You have to be of retirement age, so 59 and a half for the Roth. And let's say that you need $1 million. You're going to go buy a nice house and ride off into the sunset, whatever you're going to do. You keep $1 million. That exponential growth inside that Roth IRA account, you already paid your taxes on it when you put that $50,000. That's all post-tax. The traditional is all pre-tax. So you didn't pay the money on that $50,000 that you put into it originally. But now, what if you take out $1 million? I don't know what's the tax bracket between state and federal by the time you get everything. That's why I put a question mark. It's probably around 40%, maybe a little bit more, that you have to pay tax on. So you thought you had $1 million. All right. Who looks at their 401k and goes right down to the last page and looks at the balance? Everybody, right? You look at your 401k balance. All right, looking pretty good. We had a good quarter, good year, good whatever. Like, all right, this is what I've got for retirement. No, you don't. You still have to pay taxes on that. Okay. If you look at this account, $1 million. Hell yeah, I can finally retire. All right, give me my $1 million. Wait, you're only giving me 600,000. I can't retire yet. That's what I want to get through by this video. We all go to that bottom number and we look at that number and we think, okay, I'm getting closer to retirement. This feels good. If it's in a traditional IRA, that number doesn't mean shit. You need to see what kind of tax bracket you're in, and you got to do some calculating. How much are you going to pull out? Now, this example, I just took it all out in 1 year. You probably wouldn't do that. You would take a little bit out every year. So when would a traditional IRA make more sense than a Roth IRA? Well, a Roth IRA, you can only contribute to a Roth IRA if you make under 200 some odd $1,000. But there's other ways that you can. It's called a backdoor Roth, where you turn a 401k into a Roth, you just pay the taxes on it. So you can do it, but if you're making a lot of money and you're in a very high tax bracket now, would it make sense to pay all that tax up front and to be able to get it into something like this? Now, if it was Bitcoin from, I know this is a drastic example, 5,000 to 100,000 is huge, but what if, I don't know if where Bitcoin's going to keep going. Maybe it'll keep growing. Maybe it'll go back down to 5,000 and you lost your ass. So if that were to happen and you paid all of this money that you had already paid tax on, and then you put it into something that was a loser, you already paid all the tax. If you went the traditional route, at that point, you didn't pay any tax on it. It didn't grow, so you lost the value of it, but you didn't already pay tax. You would have saved tax. In that situation, if something goes down in value, if you want to pick a stock and it doesn't go right or whatever it is that you invest in, it's not always guaranteed to go up. If that happens, then traditional would have been the right way to go. But I don't ever plan on picking a loser, and I am not in the highest tax bracket because I've got a lot of tax strategies in place where I don't avoid. I legally don't have to pay. I follow what the government wants me to do, what the IRS wants me to do, what they incentivize me to do. Through a lot of it's through rental real estate. I get a lot of tax incentives there. So with that, I'm not in a very high tax bracket. So to me, it makes sense to pay taxes now in a lower bracket, and hopefully you can get a run on some big returns like that. It grows tax free and it's dispersed tax free. Traditional, even if you're in a lower tax bracket, it probably doesn't make as much sense because you're not really saving that much in taxes. So it's the deductions on your check won't even be that much if you're in a low tax bracket. If you're in a high tax bracket, now, okay, maybe you think about, I'm going to have some tax savings going in, and then what's it going to do on going outside? I know with these investments, we have no idea. We can only project what the past has done. So that's a question for you to look deep into your soul, maybe talk to your tax advisor, and you can throw out a couple of different scenarios, different situations, and I guarantee you none of them are going to come, be nailed right there. But it's a different way to think about what would you want to do. Also, the traditional, what tax bracket are you going to be in when you retire? Now, this was kind of sold a lot that, well, when you retire, you'll have your kids through school, they'll be out of the house, your house will be paid off, so you won't need to pay for kids and you won't need to pay for your house. So you won't need that much money to live, and you'll be in a lower tax bracket because it's whatever you take out that's what's considered income. If I had $1 million in there and I only take $10,000 out a year, I'll be in the lowest tax bracket. It just takes me forever to get the money out. So if you think about it that way, that's kind of the way everything was sold back 25, 30 years ago when I got into the game. And it sounded good because that's what these fancy people in suits are telling me, and this is the right thing to do, and they're smart. And I started off that way, but it's like, wait, I don't want to retire poor. Like, I want to be in a much higher tax bracket when I retire versus a much lower tax bracket. I was just out of college. They don't get much lower than where I was at when I first started anyway. So my theory, what I did for me was, when you're first starting out, if you're in that lower tax bracket, pay the taxes. It's not that much. Roth it up, let that roll. And all those gains are tax-free. They go tax-free. You take it out tax-free. So another way to think about it, I know I got a lot of videos on the infinite banking concept. That is similar to a Roth. So if some people, it's too much of a pain to set up a Roth or do the backdoor and everything, you can always do the infinite banking concept. And that's very, very similar, because it's all post-tax dollars. You've already paid tax on whatever you've got, and you put that into the infinite banking concept, and that has guaranteed growth, and that also grows tax-free. And you never really take the money out. You just take a loan out against it that you don't have to pay back. It just gets repaid when you pass away. So it's almost like an advance on your death benefit. So with that, it's super secure, and there's all kinds of other benefits to the infinite banking concept. So if you want to do something like that, that would be totally the way to go. And then you could what I do with my IBC policy is I borrow against that, and then I split that off and I buy other investments, tax advantaged investments, real estate, rental real estate, and I let that continue to grow and snowball and go from there. So, all right, I hope this helps clear some of the Roth versus traditional IRA questions up, and put this to good use. Good luck, everybody. Let me know if you got any questions. Thanks.